Dan Illman, Mike Buer, taking a look at race number 10 at Keeneland on Spinster Sunday. It's a prep race for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf. This is the Grade 2 Bourbon at a mile and a 16th. $350,000 is the purse. We have an overflow field of 2-year-olds in here, 12 in the body of the race. 13 through 15 are also eligibles. This race is fairly wide open on paper, Mike. These 2-year-olds are still trying to find themselves. The number 5 Noted comes off a stakes win on dirt for Todd Pletcher, and he's already been successful on the turf.
Yeah, he's the morning line favorite, which I guess it's hard to argue with that. I don't know, this race, I agree with you. I think this race is kind of wide open. It's hard to really figure out not only what kind of trips these horses are going to get, it's hard to really figure out where they all stand in relation to one another. All I can say about it is you probably don't want to be taking a short price on anybody.
Let's throw up the Timeform US pace projector. And our friends at Timeform US are expecting a fast pace. Depiction, the number 3, was a pace pressing winner at Ellis Park last time out. Fortune Seller seems like a very quick horse. I think Fortune Seller is going to be forwardly placed. Curious to see how Palm Tree plays the break. He's stretching out off a couple of sprints. I think Fortune Seller, Mike's going to make the lead. It'll be interesting to see how fast they do go.
Yeah, it will be. I really don't have any idea how this pace is going to play out. I wouldn't be surprised if Fortune Seller makes the lead in here. That does seem like his running style. As far as the rest of them go, I really have no idea, Dan. Certainly Depiction, if the pace is fast, as Timeform US predicts, if it is, Depiction's not going to be on the lead. I mean, he could have made the lead last time, but he rated very comfortably. That pace wasn't fast. He was perfectly happy to take a hold and sit behind horses. So if they're going fast early, he will not be part of it.
Palm Tree stretches out off 2 sprints, including his turf debut victory, going 6.5 furlongs at Kentucky Downs, a race where he was very comfortable, tripped down towards the inside, and he's game to win. This was a nice performance for the son of Street Boss, and I like that he showed that he could sit inside because he draws the rail here and might sit the pocket.
Yeah, he ran pretty well in this. He's never changed his leads through the stretch, but he's not going to let this horse that's trying to run him down here. He's not going to let that horse get there. I thought he ran well. I thought overall it was a really good trip for him. He's one of these horses, coming out of Kentucky Downs, Dan. I have no idea how he's going to run on a different track, but I certainly thought he looked good breaking his maiden.
The horse with the fastest Timeform US late pace rating is the number 2 Gorilla Trek, who made a nice-looking debut for an underrated trainer in Phil Bauer. This is a son of Curlin, and he came from way out of it to score his debut, although they did go fast in the early portion of that race. He showed some promise that day, Mike, and he's going to be a price again.
Yeah, I'm going to use this horse in this race, especially if that morning line's even close to right. The figure didn't come back all that impressive. He ran really, really well in that race, though, Dan, and he was super green in there. I mean, he never changed leads. He's cocking his head towards the stands all through the stretch run. He still actually closed that race down under strong handling. I think this horse can run a little bit. He's just got to sort of figure things out as far as racing goes and being professional. He's pretty good, though.
Depiction's been well bet in both lifetime starts. They knew he could run in his debut, and he got into a little bit of a jackpot in that race with some traffic. He benefited from the experience second time out, had way more comfortable trip, and he won and looked like the goods in doing so for an extremely sharp trainer in Cherie DeVoe.
Yeah, he has a really big pedigree, this horse. He really needed that debut. It looked like that. He didn't get out of the gate at all. He was outrun early. He got into a little traffic through the stretch, but he actually ran that day. He was way better last time. He got a perfect trip in that race, but he really ran. He dusted that field through the stretch. 10-1 seems like a very good price on this horse.
Ken Group's first 2 dirt starts weren't very good, but he's really stepped forward in his turf debut. This race going 7/8 of a mile at Kentucky Downs on September the 2nd, and he came from well off the pace to win. I'm not sure what he beat in this race, Mike. That to me is kind of the big question mark. It seems that this race is going to be much tougher.
That's how I looked at it too. I mean, I guess he's a little bit of a wild card in here, Dan. He did, obviously make a nice late run here to take over and get away from this field late, but his figure didn't improve at all based on the 2 dirt starts. So I don't know. Maybe he really did improve on the surface switch there, but it doesn't look like it according to the figures.
Noted ran well sprinting in his debut on turf and then successfully stretched out in this race at Saratoga at a mile and a 16th early in the spa meet, and he showed good speed to sit just off a very slow pace, and he's going to grind it down to win. You could tell he learned from this performance, Mike, because he came from way out of it to win at Monmouth last time out. He looked a lot more professional and stronger to me in the stretch in that dirt race, but I don't think it was because of the dirt. I think it's because he's slowly maturing.
Yeah, and I think he also wants distance too. I think that's a big key for this horse. His debut sprinting wasn't bad at all, but you could tell that was way too short for him. That race right there was pretty good. You saw him sort of work his way by Fortune Seller very late in that race, but he did get the job done. And it kind of always felt like he was going to do that, and then he moved forward again last time. This was okay.
2 for 2 for the 6. Vote No, a debut winner over the synthetic surface at Presque Isle Downs, and then he came right back and scored at Kentucky Downs. He was a pace-pressing winner at Presque Isle, came from farther out of it here, so I like the versatility, and his speed figure really jumped up to a 71. He's another horse that's going to have to stretch out, but he's bred for it.
Yeah, he's bred for distance and for turf. He's run really well both of his starts, Dan. I mean, he just did what he had to do when he won first time. You could tell he had more to give, and then he gave more when they switched him to turf last time, going for a big purse. He got a good trip in that race, but he ran really well once again.
Fortune Seller was beaten by Noted in the race we showed you at Saratoga, and he really didn't have an excuse from a trip standpoint. He said very tepid fractions, but maybe he was just a short horse. It was his career debut. He's raced twice since then. He finally put it all together last time out over the synthetic at Presque Isle Downs. This horse is one-way speed, getting a big class and distance and surface test.
Yeah, he is. I don't think you have to worry too much about him coming back to turf in this race. Dan, I'm sure he's going to handle it just fine. He ran well last time, and I suspect they'll go forward with him again in this race. He got absolutely loose in that synthetic race last time, and maybe that won't happen here, but I wouldn't be surprised if this pace isn't super fast. And this horse has run basically pretty well in 2 of his 3 starts.
Although the Beyer speed figures for the 8 Tok Tok are pretty light, I wouldn't discount him just because of that. He went off at odds on in his debut for Graham Motion sprinting. That's not really Graham's MO, and Tok Tok won from off the pace and looked good. And then he stretched out and he won the Kitten's Joy last time out over a first-time starter, triple espresso, utilizing good tactical speed. This horse has a big pedigree and is all upside.
Yeah, he got a really, really good trip when he won the Kitten's Joy last time, but he still ran a really nice race. I wonder how good that field actually was, Dan. I mean, this horse, he did what he had to do in there. I don't really want to knock him, but it felt like nobody else really did anything in there, save the runner-up, who was way out of it, a first-time starter, and that horse came back, and I guess he was just okay in a stakes race in New York over the weekend. I think he finished 5th.
Like trainer Graham Motion, Keith DeZormo isn't the kind of guy that rushes his young horses and wins first time out. So it was probably a good sign that Coin Miner ran so well in his debut, only losing by a neck at Ellis Park. He came back with a much improved performance. And this race is against winners. It's a restricted allowance at Kentucky Downs going 6.5 furlongs. My only concern about this race, Mike, is that other than the horse on the lead and Coin Miner, there isn't a lot of running going on. But Coin Miner does catch this loose leader in the final 16th.
Yeah, I agree with you. I didn't really know how to evaluate this performance, but he is facing, other winners in this race, Dan, as a maiden. So I want to give him, the credit he deserves for that. And I do like that he comes and gets this horse on the lead late. I mean, this is a really good finish from this colt, which makes me feel like stretching out is not a big deal for him. Listen, I don't know. I'm going to wait and see what kind of price he is, but at anything like the 8-1 morning line, I'll use him.
Nomos goes out for Todd Pletcher. He's a son of Uncle Mo that showed some tactical speed in his debut. They ran him in the with anticipation last time out, and he was chasing outside in a very slow-paced race, and I'm just not sure that really was what he wanted in only his second lifetime start. I'm never a big fan when Todd puts the blinkers on. I know it worked for Palace Malice and the Belmont Stakes all the way back, but it's an interesting move, and maybe Nomos will show a little more focus here at a big price.
Yeah, it also worked with Forte earlier this year in the Jim Dandy. Right. But you're right. For the most part, it doesn't really work. We'll see. I don't really know what to do with this horse either, Dan. I actually liked him a little bit in the with anticipation, and to be honest, I didn't think he ran that well in that race. I liked his debut win at Monmouth. I'm starting to wonder if he just didn't beat up on a pretty bad field that day.
Double Your Money, the number 11, has already won at a mile. He did so at Kentucky Downs, which might play a little bit longer due to its European-style configuration. He earned a 73 Beyer speed figure, which is very solid. And we're going to see Double Your Money really fight in here, Mike. This is a pretty good performance from him, I thought, from a visual standpoint.
Yeah, this is good stuff from this horse. I thought he ran well in this race, too. He's one who I do feel like might want to be involved early in his races, Dan, and that could be a problem for him breaking from post 11. But man, he stretched out from 5.5 to a mile. Not an easy thing to do, and he's going to hold on.
Seems like an agile sort, and he was really reaching for ground at the end. It'll be interesting to see how far he wants to go, but a good trip could be coming. You're right. He has that tactical speed, could get first jump on a horse like Fortune Seller. First World War was a likable debut winner for Brendan Walsh, going a mile, 73 Beyer speed figure on September the 13th. And I like this race, Mike. I thought not only did he win, but I thought he got some learning experience in here as well, kind of racing in and among horses at a point.
Yeah, I agree. He did ultimately get the good run through the stretch here. The rail opened right up for him, and he moves right on through to the lead and runs away with this thing. I thought this was a good performance. The horse that runs second to him, who's stuck on the AE list here, that horse also ran well in this race. I don't know. I feel like that was a good race overall, so I don't want to discount this horse's chances. He's got a tough post, though.
13 through 15 are also eligibles. I guess the 15 Tireless, the horse that just ran second, would be the most interesting to me. Second time out for Todd Pletcher. Boy, he'd have to overcome a tough outside post position if he gets in. It's a wide open race. I think we're supposed to look for prices. Let's take a look at our top picks for the Bourbon. You're going to go with Depiction. He did rate very professionally in his second lifetime start. He's 10-1 on the line. And like so many others in this race, he has upside, but he has that tactical speed.
Yeah, I thought he could get the right trip in this race. That was part of it. More than anything else, though, Dan, I just think he's run really well in both of his starts so far, and he's drawn more towards the inside, which is good. I just liked him, and I liked the horse right to was inside Gorilla Trek, who I think can improve in this race, and he should also be a price.
Coin Miner beat Winners last time out, and as we saw, he was really reaching for ground late, which made Mike think, which makes me think maybe 2 turns will be good for him. I think he's got to be a fair price in here for James Graham and Keith DeZormo. 3-2, 10-12 for Mike, 9-1, 11-2 for me. It's the Bourbon. It's a wide open prep for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, and it's at Keeneland on Sunday. Good luck.